Hi, everyone. Welcome to Designer's Table. I'm Angie Yazlaitis, and I'm your host for Designer's Table. And I have with me Kenny Faith. And Kenny Faith is a designer, artist. I call him creative extraordinaire. Welcome, Kenny.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So this is our very first episode. So Kenny gets the pleasure of being part of our very first episode of Designer's Table. We can call it a vlog, call it a podcast. It really just depends on where you're watching us from. And this is brought to you by Atlas Furniture Imports. So just a shameless plug here. Those of you who don't know, Atlas Furniture Imports is an online furniture store, but it's also a warehouse in central Pennsylvania. And they specialize in working with folks that want a unique piece for their home and designers that are looking for some unique pieces for their clients' homes. So it's just really important to them, just creativity in general and being able to talk design. And so the owner just really wanted to put out this opportunity to chat with creatives, to chat with designers, to have a real conversation around the table about what's going on and inspire others. And they asked me to host it, honestly, mainly because I have a love for design. And I like dabbling in design, but I'm not a trained designer. So I am personally super excited to be hosting this. And I'm super excited to start the first Designer's Table chat with Kenny Faith. So I'll just, I want to start by just saying, Kenny, I'm going to let him introduce himself, but he is an artist. And actually, the piece you see behind me is a piece by Kenny, which I happen to love. And Kenny, introduce yourself, a little bit about your training, your background.
Sure. Hi, my name, like you said, Kenny Faith. My website's kennyfaithart.com if you'd like to look specifically at my pieces. I started in design, I would say, kind of late in life. I started painting and drawing at the end of my senior year in high school. So, through high school, I didn't take any art classes at all. And by the time I went to college, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So I took a bunch of different classes, and what I fell in love with right away was art and art classes. And, it's definitely a field in academia that's, I wouldn't say frowned upon, but it's definitely not one of those degrees where you're going to get out of school and you're going to have a job waiting for you.
Yeah.
So you really have to find out what art means to you and how it can apply to anything that you do. But backing up, after high school and after once I was in college, got my degree in art, went off into the world, was playing music and was working on my artwork, and decided actually to go get my master's degree in fine art from the Brooklyn College in New York City. So that was definitely eye-opening, being around the elite of the elite when it comes to artists and in art culture.
Yeah.
So finding where you fit in that sort of very, like I said, very, very upper echelon, high elite artists. You learn really fast to be humble and but then also really believe in yourself and believe in your eye and believe in what you're learning and really dive headlong into what you really like.
Yeah.
So the thing that really moved me was always large scale painting and sculpting. I'm talking, painting, like you see the painting behind Angie there. That painting is, I would say, on the smaller side of my normal work, especially what I was doing in my MFA and doing for my thesis, which was some of my paintings were, 12 feet by 9 feet, very large, very physical, basically an immersive experience. So you you kind of immersed in what you're looking at and kind of forced to recognize patterns, and you're forced to um, you know, see the process. You see the brush strokes, you see what's happening, you see the mistakes, and it makes you wonder why or how or what was he thinking. um and yeah, so I know I just jumped into that a lot there, but again, as far as design and art goes, um really anything that requires a trained design eye. um, you know, I really shy away from saying, like you saying that you aren't trained, so maybe your points aren't valid or what you see isn't valid. I can tell you that from somebody who has a master's in art. I've met many artists that are not trained, have any formal training, that are just the best of the best, just because they really follow they put their time in, and they follow their heart, and
Yeah.
that's really the most important thing.
That's a great point. And I think it's interesting, so much of what you said, because one of the reasons that we wanted you to come on for the first Designers Table is design, and interior design in particular, creating a home requires art. Like, what is a home without art?
Sure.
And that's the philosophy that our sponsors, Atlas Furniture, has, that philosophy of what is a home without art, even though their furniture really is an art, right? And we're going to talk
Absolutely.
about
Yes.
sculpture in and of itself. But I think, everybody has their own eye and their own taste, and talking about how art, finds its way into a home, and what does it mean to the person. And one thing I'll say that, you brought up is this piece is actually living in a breakfast room in a bed and breakfast. And I can tell you that maybe I can count on one hand the number of people that have not sat at breakfast and had a conversation about this painting. The majority of the people, literally, we've come out and heard these things, saying, "Oh, I see this, I see that. What do you see in that?" It's incredible. And that, when it was placed there, was never thought through. Like, so that was not thought through, like, this is going to be this piece that people sit and have breakfast. It just fit there, right? So it's more like it just evolved there. But the conversations that have come out of that have been beautiful and brilliant. And I love that aspect of design.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, a conceptual artist, an abstract artist, I think they'd be hard pressed to find an abstract artist that wouldn't be really excited about that, because art can be very inaccessible sometimes, and sometimes it can be very accessible. I've always prided myself on art that is very accessible, and it's not trying to make some sort of overt political statement or something that divides people, but something that brings people together. I, definitely don't, want people to look at a piece of my art and have argument. There's a place for that. There's definitely a place for that. But in my art, I've always shied away from that.
Yeah, it was uniting. And certainly we need that. And we want our homes to be a uniting place. So very cool. So I think a couple of things that we want to set up with this first one is, just letting people know we want to try to keep these 20, 30 minutes, right? But we want to start this very first one, setting the stage. It's a new year, right? So it's 2023. And so I'm a big one to read, like, AD, Architectural Digest, which is what I know it as. I'm old school. It's now AD. And I was reading all these trends, Kenny, like what's new for 2023. And we're going to talk about some of them. I'm going to get your take on them. And then we're going to talk a little bit about color. But one of the trends that was in one of the articles I was reading that I just absolutely loved was getting away from 2023 will be the year where some individualism, your self-expression is coming back into the homes, so going away from, we saw probably, 5 years, maybe a decade of, okay, now we're going rustic, and now we're going farmhouse chic, and now we're going, and what we're seeing in some of these trend articles is that it's more come full circle. Like, yes, you may gravitate towards one of those, but individualism, being able to bring in your unique sense into the space and not be like, oh, my house is all X, even if you're a very specific style, like you're like a very much contemporary. It's okay. What they're saying is it's okay to bring in another element into your home. So I wanted to get your take as an artist designer on that, because I find that to be fascinating and I love that.
Well, that it definitely goes hand in hand with my philosophy on art. We have such a long history of dating back to hundreds of thousands of years of humans engaging with material culture, but only very recently has it become very commercial. I mean, you're talking only in like the early 20th century, where things started moving towards not function. It's not functional anymore. It's a style. It looks this certain way, and it's being regurgitated over and over and over, and mass produced, and you have to have this in your home. Furniture and art, and like I said, the material that you have in your home was very regional too. Like if you live in a certain place, this is just what we have in our homes. It wasn't, oh man, I want my home to look like, an Adobe hut or an Adobe style home, like from, like Arizona or New Mexico in Pennsylvania.
Right.
That would never have been a thing. Right. So, so really, I think, again, getting away from that extreme commercialism of keeping up with the Joneses and, seeing very homogenous design choices, people are saying, well, no, I really want to focus on what I like. And then on top of that, also the function of the room, really focusing on how this room flows and how this room, how does this make you feel when you walk in it, is very important, because you can buy the best of the best stuff. You can try to tailor your home from what you see in magazines and on websites, but if it's not set up with care, if it's not set up in a way that I guess makes sense or is functional, it kind of loses its quality.
Yes. And I think one of the things that really attracted me to my work with Atlas Furniture Imports was the whole warehouse concept. And they are, by the way, going to reopen a showroom, a small showroom in Altoona to show some of the pieces. But I love the idea of, I don't have to buy a whole set of something matching in a showroom for my living room to look nice. Like I can get this piece that I really am drawn to, and let the room evolve from a piece, or let the room evolve from a piece of art. And that really attracted me to their concept it's a different concept than in a lot of furniture stores or outlets where you're going in and you're selling a whole like set together, and the more you buy, the better discount you get, kind of thing. So I love that concept of start with a piece and let your home evolve over time. But where does a person start, Kenny? Like, I think that's the thing. If you're not a creative and you're not an artist, the thing that I hear the most, and this just isn't in furniture, but it's in design overall, being in the marketing, as a host, as all that, is like, I don't know where to start. Sometimes it's the same thing with clothing. Like, how did you put that outfit together? I don't know where to start. How did you put the room together?
Don't look at my outfit.
Black's always good.
Yeah, that's a tough question of where to start. For some people, like for myself, I never know when to stop. But I would say where to start would be your floor, like where you start on the ground level, and where you place your feet, where you place your energy, like where that really gives a lot of mood to a home. So I mean, just being honest, answering that, probably the carpet or, rugs. I would
Yeah,
say that's really where I would start. I mean, you can take a room, add a nice rug, and all of a sudden it's a really nice room.
that's amazing tip.
Yeah.
And that's a foundation.
Yeah, for sure. And then you kind of like, again, and in a lot of cultures too, I mean, that's all they have in the rooms, like in the Middle East. I mean, a lot of their homes, they revolve around their, they're in these, I guess you consider them pretty lo-fi homes, but they have these gorgeous carpets that are probably worth thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to get because they're handmade and they're gorgeous.
Yes, yes. Love that. I've always been drawn to carpet. I know I've spoken to you in the past about like we should take your art and turn it into a carpet. Like I feel like the floor is a foundation and
Yeah.
it's like a blank canvas. It's just
Yeah.
and I do
Yeah.
struggle to find good like what I struggle with is finding a piece that an affordability combined with the elements that I like in it. So
Yeah.
you're either going to spend a lot of money, or you're sacrificing some of those elements. So that is definitely whoever's listening out there that wants to start a rug company. That's definitely a need. I think is an affordable but yet nice rug that, and plus people want to be able to clean them nowadays, right?
Yeah.
That's a big
Yeah.
thing.
And going back to your original question about where to start, like I said, I mean, starting on the ground level. Another thing too is picturing and imagining how you will be engaging with this room. I've been to homes before where you walk in and the front room is, we don't go in there. That's where all the nice stuff is, and we don't go in there. We don't sit on that stuff, and it's the first room in your house. Like, what message are you sending to people when you walk in? It's like, oh yeah, don't go over there. Don't sit there. Especially like these more formal dining rooms that you walk in and it's right there to the right or right there to the left, and it's like we don't even eat there. It's a very strange concept to me, where I feel like you walk in somewhere and the first place that you arrive, you should feel invited and like, I just want to sit down here and talk or whatever.
Yeah, and we just had that conversation before we started, but like, don't put it there if you're gonna lose your mind if it gets broken. Like people need
Right.
to live in their homes, and I think that that's the concept that the one article was sharing, like livability.
Yeah.
Your home is coming back. So the second thing I wanted to talk about with regards to what's trending is color is coming back. And this is kind of a
Good.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, you're obviously a color guy in your art, but I love how, so this was also an interesting history for me to research. So, we went down the path of, the gray walls, and this is hanging on a gray wall. But originally that concept was neutral walls for art to be displayed, right? Like, so, and then
Yes.
it became everybody just wanted gray walls, regardless of whether they had the art or the anything to be displayed on it. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's interesting how you see the evolution of some of those trends when I went back and researched that, because the whole idea behind design and coming up with a color that looks really great with everything as a neutral, where it went from, creams and tans into this gray, which was considered a more modern neutral, right? Was to be a backdrop for things. Not that every house in the whole world would have gray walls and not necessarily anything really hanging on them. So I'm interested in your take on how a family, especially, young people with kids, how they can introduce color back into their home when maybe they do have the neutral palette that has been so in. I mean, you did see a lot of gray and whites, where there might be some color thrown in on throw pillows and things, but how do they really introduce a color in to a room when they've gotten away from color? And is it for everyone?
Yeah, it's not, but I can tell you that that people are deathly afraid of color a lot of times, especially new homeowners are totally freaked out by color. They don't really know what you know, if it's okay, if if it's stylish or whatever. I like your point that you made that if you go into an art gallery, they have white walls, and that's because they want to showcase um, this original artwork. Now, does it make sense to have a white wall and go to Home Goods and buy whatever they're selling from China and plop it on your white wall and that be your centerpiece of the aesthetics of your room? I feel like that's kind of sad. If you're not gonna purchase original artwork like mine and my friends, then why not paint your wall a color that you like? Color affects our minds. It affects our emotions. When you go into a home, if as a homeowner, you should definitely be willing to take those risks because it's interchangeable. Just because you paint a wall a color, then you're not married to that. You can change it.
Right.
But I think it's really experimentation. I mean, if you never try anything different, you never know what you like.
Right.
If you assume that because you've never tried a blue, an orange, a yellow, or a red, a shade on your wall, if you never tried it, how can you say you hate it? Because you never know. You could paint your wall a certain color. You'd be like, I'm not really sure, and taking a risk, and you might love it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think, again, and what's cool about our sponsor, Atlas Furniture Imports, is that they are, they're selling furniture, but they're also a big supporter of the community. And so one of the things I always encourage people is start with artists in your community, and if you can't find an artist that can create something for you, I mean, they are from, someone who will do a piece like this, like you will, Kenny, to, there's high school students that make incredible art. Like,
yeah.
The options are endless, right? To find original art and to support people who really have put their time and their heart and their soul into creating these pieces. And when you bring them into your home, they evoke something for you.
Yeah.
So I think that, you just made a really good point. Either you do that and are willing to do that and go out on a limb and do that, or you start with a wall and make that your piece of art, try it.
Yeah, give it a try.
Try painting the wall, pretty green or something, and see how it's whatever your color is that you feel. What I do is I tend to look around and see, okay, if I were to look at all these elements, where is there a commonality? What's coming out as the commonality? In this particular bed and breakfast, there's a commonality of a blue, like a royal blue, that comes out in all of the rooms. You see that element flow throughout. And so we try to take and flow that in just little touches throughout all the rooms. So finding that commonality in color. But I, like you, was thrilled when I read the color was coming back. I was like, woohoo! Because I so many times people would come into my house and be like, I can't, this works for you. And like, this is the funny, this works for you, but I could never do this. And I say, yes, you can. You just have to find the piece that makes you feel something.
Right.
And
exactly.
Then you can do it, right? If you're putting stuff up you don't like, then no, you shouldn't. So we want to talk about two more things before we wrap it up. We don't want to bore people on our podcast here. But we want to talk about the Pantone color of the year, just from an exciting, it's kind of fun. Every year we look at that. We look at what the color is. And then I'm going to let you talk about a piece or two off of the Atlas Furniture site and why you like it and how you would incorporate it into a home. So, and just for the audience, this is kind of how it's going to flow every time. And our goal with the designers table is to bring in designers and artists and creatives to talk about, just have these table chats where we're just talking, asking questions, like talking about an article we saw. We may have we really love Kenny, so we may have him back as a featured co-host as these things go. You know, as it takes off, we'll see. Sometimes things take off, sometimes it takes time to build them. So, but so the color of the year is called Viva Magenta, the Pantone color of the year. And if you are watching and you want to look it up, just put in Pantone color of the year and it'll come up. And it actually has a pretty cool site introducing it. They do this every year where they introduce a color, why they chose the color, what it evokes, what emotions it's meant to evoke, and why it was chosen. It really great descriptives. If you're a creative, you probably already know about this. Used in, you know, digital design, used in interior design. So it's pretty fun. And I know Atlas shared today on their social pages, it's raining Viva Magenta. So, and just they have a cute little video about it. It's raining Viva Magenta. How would you use it? So how would you use it, Kenny?
Well, I'm not going to lie. I'm sitting here looking at the web page right now, and I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous what they've done with it. I mean, the color palette itself has a lot of versatility. I can definitely tell you that. Yeah, I mean, it's very, for me, it invokes very floral. It feels very floral.
Mm-hmm.
It feels very natural. Especially with, you know, the right lighting, and, you know, you could do a lot. I mean, we were just talking about walls. Take a risk, paint your wall this color. I think it'd be really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it definitely feels a little on the feminine side, like I said, very, very floral. But, you know, I mean, I think it's a great choice. I mean, especially in digital art. I mean, this color on a screen is like overwhelming. Like it's really clear why they picked it, because I think that is a big deal today in design, and especially in art, is digital design, and how the screen reacts to certain, you know, colors, and colors you don't see so much, and how it pops when you do see it. It's like, wow, I don't see this a lot in design, and now they're showing it. It's like, wow, this is really vivid.
Yes. And I love that you said it does lean on the feminine side, but I think it's pretty cool to see what people can do with this to make something
Yeah,
more masculine. And that's interesting because you compare it with like a navy. You compare it with darker woods in a home where, you know, like there's just certain things that are associated with, like when you think about a man's studio that he walks in, the darker woods and you know, the darker grays and the navies. And this could be a pop of color in a room like that, where you have you know, you have that feel throughout, and then you just have a couple pop pieces that you're just like, wow, this is super cool. This guy's creative. So it
yeah,
lands on the feminine side, and it certainly does. It would be really fun to see what an interior designer would do with that,
yeah.
and you know, to bring in that masculine component. And you have a piece of art behind you, don't you? That's your art. Does
Mm-hmm.
that have colors like that in it? I can't really tell from or what colors are in that.
Actually, it's a lot of pink. It's gold and pink. I would say the foundation of the painting is gold and pink.
Yeah. So that's pretty interesting because that
Yeah,
could even play on a wall.
yeah. I think one of the most stunning color choices is that, like, how they merge together and how they play off of each other is white and pink. I think
Mhm.
it does something to the human mind. I think I don't know if it's through our culture or whatever, but it just evokes a lot of emotion. For me, it's nostalgic. It's my first girlfriend. It's like all this stuff. That very, like I said, that white, and then the pink, the soft pink.
Yes.
It's funny because this magenta, as it's on in its palette in the lighter side, is like that pale pink almost.
Yes. I love that too. So I would suggest everybody goes out and looks at that website and looks at the palette, because it really, I was just overjoyed when I saw the
Yeah,
palette
it's
here.
stunning. It grabs a lot of light. I mean, you can tell if you put that on your wall or you used it. I wouldn't use say you just did one panel of a wall. I wouldn't paint a room this color,
Yeah, I mean,
but maybe it's in an office, a small panel.
yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, so we're getting close to the end. Hopefully you guys are still with us. We really, this has been super fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's talk about, I know you went out on the Atlas website, and it's, this is, we're talking about a furniture warehouse where they're trying to find unique, and they have found some pretty unique pieces and some standard pieces, but trying to bring in some different styles. Was there anything that grabbed your eye?
Yeah. I'm going to take it all the way back to the beginning of our discussion. You said where to start. I mean, we talked about flooring. We talked about rugs. I really like their Kirby coffee table. Reason being, it is an empty canvas. I mean, you look at that piece and you could do so much with that. The wood is great. You don't have to, obviously doesn't need painted or anything like that. The wood grain is great. I mean, I'm seeing that as the foundation to start, maybe you want to take up doing flower arrangements. Maybe you want to start picking up different sculptures or antiques or something like that. I mean, what a great place for it to start, and for you to see how something that sits on top of the table interacts with space and light and all that.
Yes, I love it. Is that the formal name of the piece?
What's that?
Is that the formal name of the piece?
The Kirby coffee table. Yeah.
Awesome. So if you're there, I think I have the website scrolling, but it's atlasfurnitureimports.com. Check it out, because I think you're right. I'm a big floral girl, so I always picture those pieces with a phenomenal bouquet on it, and I'm like, oh, that's always how I want to show them.
Yeah.
Is bring that element of nature in, and the color pops in that as well. Pretty cool. Well, Kenny, this has been super fun.
Yeah, for sure.
First designer's table, and I hope everybody's like it. So we'll kind of just recap. We'll see if we can remember everything. As the host, I'm gonna have to get better at finding a way to remind myself of everything you covered, because we covered some great stuff. But it was so basically getting rid of the fear, right? Like the trend for this year is build a home that you love, right? Don't be so stuck in a trend, and get rid of the fear of, you said, one of the things I thought was powerful that you said was, don't worry about what other people think, or keeping up with anyone else, or what somebody else's style of their home is. Create a home that you love. So that's really a great tip. I loved how you said start with the floors. That was a powerful tip to me, because, we don't always do that. And it's such an easy thing. I was like, bam, yeah, you're right. We need to start with our floors and build up, right? You also said, start small, like with color. Find something that you love. Think about, what are you willing to do? Where are you willing to take the risk, right? And then the same thing, with that, finding that one great piece. If you're looking on the Atlas site and you're finding that one great piece, can you build around it? Is it like a build? It's like everything you said to me is like they're building blocks. Like great design building blocks.
Awesome. This has been really fun.
Anything else you want to share with the audience?
Other than just if you are interested in any of my art on kennyfaithart.com, please don't hesitate. Email me, kennyfaithart@gmail.com. If you like something, let me know. Anything that's a digital print, I'm sad to say that's all original. That stuff has been sold. That those are one of a kind, but I'll start creating more digital art in the future. But if you like what you see and you want something commissioned, you want something for a wedding gift or, you know, a birthday or something for a friend, a completely unique, one-of-a-kind piece, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And we'll figure out a way. If you want something large scale, I'll figure out a way to get it to you.
Fantastic. I love it. And I hope you guys do check him out because he's so talented.
Thank
And
you, Angie.
absolutely. And I'll give my little plug here for our sponsor, which we're so grateful to, Atlas Furniture Imports, atlasfurnitureimports.com. You actually can shop their warehouse. You can call them and get a private appointment. And if you are a designer that likes something on there and you're not from the area, like Kenny, you're in Texas.
Texas.
If you're a designer and you're in Texas and you're watching this and you like a piece on there, you want that piece, you actually can call, and they do video meetings, which is pretty cool, where they'll get on with the designer, walk them through the warehouse, because they have a warehouse that's filled with furniture. And what's nice is it's there, so you don't have to wait. It's shipped to you. Designers get a 20% discount all the time from Atlas. And they also have a really cool thing, which I love. I've gotten some pieces by doing this. It's the birthday club. So in your month of your birthday, 50% off, up to $1,000. Great way to get a sofa or something, like a really cool piece. So got to give a shameless plug for them. And we so appreciate them sponsoring Designer Table. And we'll be back with you hopefully in a couple weeks. So thanks again, Kenny. Everyone have a wonderful.
Thank you, Angie.
Absolutely. See ya.
Bye.